Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us this far. In case you are just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya, and I am Jain Wambui. We'd love to know where you are watching us from this morning, so feel free to interact with us. Use the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1 across all the social media platforms. My handle is at Jain Wambui. We welcome your thoughts, questions, or just clarification that you may be seeking in regards to this conversation that we are about to embark on. So now we want to move on to our family check segment, and today we will be talking about family in relation to politics, understanding the relationship that the two have and what you and I can do to better position ourselves given the time that we are in as a country, just 35 days to the general elections. Now with me in studio to help with this conversation, to my extreme right, we have Dr. Geoffrey Wango, who is a counseling psychologist as well as a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Asante.
Karibu sana. And to my immediate right, we have Bishop Dr. Richard Keturai. He is the chairman of the Kajiado County Anti-Corruption Civilian Oversight Committee, as well as an author. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Jain, and thanks.
Karibuni sana. Now, feel free to be part of this conversation. We will be addressing your comments as and when they come in. Now, gentlemen, this conversation around family and politics is always, people don't really have it in a calm manner. And studies have been done. Let me just give to you the information as per what I found, that looking at family and politics, fathers are the ones who initiate a child's view of politics, okay?
Yep.
And the politicization process is complete by the time a child is 13 years of age. Now, when we talk about families and politics, they always start as very calm conversations. And before you know it, it's a heated debate, and to some extent, it can end in very harsh exchanges. Let me start with you, Bishop Richard. Why is it that politics are so triggering for so many people?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you and welcome everybody. Yeah, fathers definitely love politics. And when you go to the barber, when you go to the street, and when they're watching football, it's all about politics, and they really love it.
Yes.
So you find they're the ones who bring the topic of politics at home.
Yes.
And they do it very nicely, and they try to bring it the idea. Apart from what is happening in the media, because sometimes the children will love to know, and Daddy, what is it that so-and-so is saying this? And together with the daddies talking about politics and sharing with their children, they also have some other sources. They're just getting the politics and what it all means about.
Yes.
So definitely it really starts from the fathers. Mothers not so much about it. So, and we appreciate the fathers who really bring it the right way. Because you see, as the way you express it, the children will get it.
Yes.
If you express it by talking negatively about somebody else, you know the children are really picking it. So we should start from there. That as you talk about politics, try so much not to bring a negativity from the other side.
All right.
I like
Dr. Geoffrey,
Yes.
your thoughts on the same, looking at the whole politicization process of a child, the role of a parent, and just looking at the relationship between our human psychology and politics. Why is it so triggering to so many people?
Asante, thank you, Jain. I first of all agree with the Reverend Bishop Richard.
Yes.
That in the home, it seems like it's the father who sets the pace. Because I'm a lecturer, I wanted to go straight to the behind.
Yes.
Back. And let me be asked, what is politics? Because politics is actually a discussion about the governed and those who are governing them. And that's what has changed politics so much, because politics is supposed to be more of a discussion. But when you go now to the psychology of it, there's a lot of studies on politics and of psychology and politics. Why? Because incidentally, politics is a very emotive subject. It has a lot of emotions. I personally stay away from politics. So if you notice that I don't get into any of the parties, don't be surprised. Because emotions, there are two things that evoke a lot of emotions in us. And I'm happy you're with the referent here. They're actually religion and politics.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a discussion where it will be very heated and with a lot of emotions coming from the heart rather than the might.
Yes.
They are called religion and politics. If you're very careful, you stay away from them, unless, of course, you know how to handle them. And that takes us now to a very important aspect that is very important for us. Now that you say we have about, they said 35 bishop days to the...
Yeah, almost.
To 9th August.
Yeah, almost.
We need to mention something we call stress disorder or election stress disorder. That's one of the things that is highly studied in psychology and in counseling psychology. And actually, this term was first used by someone called Stephen Stoney in 2016 in an article he had written on the Washington Post. The reason why I'm mentioning this is we need to go back to what is stress disorder. Stress disorder is a condition where we feel we are uncomfortable with many things. And actually in America, for instance, it happens in 50% of the people. In Europe, the same. So it's not surprising that it is happening in Kenya,
yes,
in 50%. And now I like the way you put it into the family, where Bishop actually says there seems to be a head, we should be heading. But again, politics has changed a lot now. In the last 15, 20 years, even in Kenya, with everyone wanting to be involved in politics. In fact, although we are parents with the bishop here, we may not want to discuss a lot of politics in the home because we want everyone to remain calm.
Yes.
But not the children. The children are coming in and they walk in, and before you know it, they have shouted a particular party. So let me call one A and call the other one B. Because like I said, I really stay away from politics as a professional. And what happens is that this creates a lot of stress. And actually, if you notice right now, there are so many people now looking for aspect of how to cope with this stress. And you can notice it. If you tell me to give you 2, 3 signs. The irritability. Everyone is getting irritated. And the flow of information. You know, there's a lot of information. I don't know whether you've seen the manifestos. Yeah. I think we come from one to another. Today is the 4th one. Maybe that is party A, B, C, D. And at the end of the day, you're asking yourself, where do you belong? So this is now penetrates into the family. So that even in a family gathering, you suddenly find everyone want to discuss politics.
Yes. I
am one person who tells people in all my meetings that unless otherwise, stay away from politics in a family meeting.
Okay. Now, looking at the fact that in most cases, it is the father who initiates this politicization process in especially the children. Yeah. What role does the mother now in this case plays? Okay. Because we're living in a country where politics is very emotive, as you've rightfully put it, and we're always complaining about representation. Could this be one of the manifestations of not having mothers being actively involved in the politicization process of our children? Let me start with you, Bishop.
Yeah, I think we appreciate a lot of our sisters who are coming in to vie, and you know, it was different the other day. This is the time women are really coming up for leadership positions in politics, and we appreciate that. And it's starting, especially, but in my family, my wife is not so much on politics. Just like the way football, the game, not many, but they are coming in. But we really appreciate what is happening, and they also should come in to guide. It's now, as Professor says, it's emotive, and because like one of my sons will come from school, and he talks about he knows all the parties. So they say, and in fact they're even coming to know which side, even the tribal, the sides of politics. So I believe it is now time for every family, every parent to be involved into this thing. Because if you don't, I think these young ones are getting so confused.
Yes.
You know, they are seeing the manifestos. In fact, like now about your manifesto, if you're saying you are going to sell whatever, or marijuana, or you are going to sell what, they know all those things. Yeah. If you say you are going to bring a good road, they say, but that road from our home goes to our home is not that good. Yes. What did the governor do? So it's time we come into, it's becoming in fact a crisis, if not. It's going to another level that unless we just come in, they're having a different kind of it. Because also a lot of people are going for politics now. Not so much has the country in heart. Some of them are just going to loot the public resources. So we have to come in now, every one of us, to talk about. And when you talk in a family setting, don't try to bring negativity. Show them politics is just about policies and so and so is good. It's just about a fair competition. Let the best win. Don't just try to smear the mud to your opponent.
Okay, we'll be coming to tips and tricks that parents can employ to just when initiating these conversations around politics. But let me come to you, Dr. Geoffrey, on the same aspect of the what roles both the father and the mother have to play in the politicization process, and especially looking at the fact that now, even just the other day, the president did mention that we're having so many single-parent-led homes, and most of them are led by mothers.
I completely agree. In fact, I agree with Bishop that we need a bit of reorientation. In fact, for a long time, and that's why I started by defining what is politics. For a long time, we have thought politics means the masculinity part of our perspective, and that's why you notice that politics has been about tribe and race.
Yes.
If you go to the Western world, they refer to themselves as one race from another. In us, it is about a tribe and where I come from, and that's why, in my opinion, there is a lot need for the mothers and the ladies and the young people. Very, very important to start coming in and bring order in disorder. And this is the time we need to ask ourselves, what is this thing called politics? Politics is about policies. So that we can reach a point where we say to ourselves, there is need for us to discuss issues rather than whom do you support. Because as long as politics remains, which ethnic group do I come from? And this is why even in countries like the developed world, they talk about the race. And that's why I talked about the stress reaching 50%. Why does it reach 50%? Because it's about whom I support, not about the policies. And this is where, especially the ladies, with due respect to our wives and mothers, they bring order in the family. And I like the way some ladies will say, my wife, like Bishop says, my wife doesn't like politics. And she says, this is a family gathering.
Yes.
And we are here to discuss family matters. And you see, that brings in a lot of order. During COVID, there was a very funny scenario that did not escape many people. The German chancellor is female, and Germany had the lowest rate of COVID in the world, and several other countries as well. And that raises issues about what is politics. Because we need, even in our own country, Kenya, to even bring, and I really love the way you bring politics to the family. We need to bring politics to the family. And like Bishop says, let us ask, what do you believe in? Let us start bringing values. I'm happy Bishop is here because God aspects to do with our godliness and family supersede politics.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a fact, not an opinion. We need to bring in what is number one. Number one is God making us and giving us a purpose. And then we go to family. And in that family, we bring in policies. That's where we bring in values and norms. And that's why, like, I will tell you for free, me in family gatherings, I tell people, I am not very sure, I use very polite language, I'm not very sure this is the appropriate moment to discuss politics. In my view, I think we can concentrate more on the family issues. But those who would like to discuss a bit of politics can go aside and really get into those matters there. Why? Because you don't want to, politics has a lot of emotions. Immediately you shout to your candidate A, I am there saying, why are you supporting him or her? And you see, that shouting, that screaming affects the family acrimony.
Okay. Now, that aspect of tribes and ethnic politics is something that we have been dealing with as a country for so long. Now, let me come to you, Bishop. How do we detach this conversation around politics and ethnic backgrounds when a parent is trying to communicate or teach their children about politics without their personal and individual preferences coming into play?
Yeah, Jen, first thing is that I don't talk politics loudly, but I definitely love to talk about it. But I do it just in a low tone with the pastors, because I love to know what pastors are saying. And I get excited to learn something new about what the manifesto says, what people, the reaction in the ground. So definitely I feel myself getting interested a little bit, but not really, I don't shout. But I think it's time we just bring a conversation that we are Kenyans, even in our homes, that we bring that name Kenya, that this is my brother, this is my neighbor. This is not time to discuss tribe to our children. In fact, we are different generation. These are generation they don't understand. If my child and the professor's child, when they meet, the first thing they just say is maybe even which university did you go? They don't even say, where do you come from?
Tribe doesn't matter.
Even we are getting, even from our own villages, they don't even ask themselves, which village do you come from?
Exactly.
These people don't have time for such nonsense. We should try to avoid those kind of, which tribe do you come from, or this guy, we're not going to elect him. It's time to look to the manifesto. What are these people bringing to the table for the development of this country? So we should really detach ourselves from tribes, conversations, and this is not the right person. Maybe your politician is going 20 years, has done nothing, and there's somebody else from another tribe who is coming with. We need development. We don't need relatives and such kind of things which take the country back.
But we're also living in a time where there are parents that will tell their children, unapigia huyu kura.
Yeah,
ask them why, they say juni wetu.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
deeply rooted tribal politics, and you're trying to impose on especially the youth.
We should not. The parents should also know there's democracy. We're living at a time they know their rights, and and I appreciate even sometimes they say yes ma'am, but they are just going to cast their vote in the right place. They know because there's a booth there. They're just going to do it right.
Exactly.
Your thoughts on the same?
I completely agree with Bishop that we need a new orientation. We need to start by defining what is this politics, what is this campaign, and I completely agree with Bishop that we cannot continue saying. If you don't, before had Bishop, we used to be told, if you don't vote for so and so, you don't live in my house.
Oh yeah.
Or you can go away. And you see, actually, with due respect, if you study more of gender psychology, you find that ladies, with due respect, used to be forced to vote in a particular way by the husband. And you're told, if you go and vote for so and so, or kulikuwa na chama ya baba na mama, and then you used to be told, even if you enter that booth and you vote for so and so, don't come back here. And psychologically you feel intimidated,
trapped,
and thank you, trapped actually, because you don't know, is he or she seeing me? And the intimidation is so much, and now we are more free. We need to tell our children and our wives and spouses, of course, that you are free to go and vote whoever you are pleased with, depending on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's why I'm happy that Bishop is also bringing in the perspective of the principles. What does the person stand for? Like he puts it, when our children are outside there playing about, they don't ask each other, who is your father? Who is your mother? They don't ask each other that. You find the children outside playing, exchanging their bicycles, and riding, and holding each other. And that is the new perspective we need to bring into Kenya. In fact, in my opinion, with due respect, I must say I have been unhappy with the politics the way it has taken this year. I expected that we will, with the new constitution, we will have changed so much into issues so that we can say, I was very happy when Bishop introduced himself and he said he is part of the anti-corruption. We need to bring in those aspects, because when I have a degree, with due respect, and I'm not talking about anyone, and I have a fake degree, with due respect, and I am a counseling psychologist, and I talk about family, and I'm home bishop, and I'm telling my child to go to school and get a degree, and my child saw on TV that I don't have a degree. And I'm just telling my child, go and vote. It's like Bishop here. When he goes home, with due respect, before the children eat, he says, let us say a prayer. But he's the first one not to eat before he says a prayer.
Yes, exactly.
I like the fact that you brought in the aspect of corruption, because politics and corruption can never miss to be, if not the same statement, the same conversation. And there's always this phrase that goes around that corruption starts in the family. Is it true? Let me start with you.
From my perspective, yes.
And in what way?
And in what way? Thank you. The family is a very important setting that we have continuously ignored. In fact, what most people don't understand is our children are made up of about 75% of us. This includes our genetics, which we want to ignore. In fact, when you're looking at psychology, and genetics and biology, we say there are even illnesses or diseases that are passed from one person to another. And to pick a quick example is depression, diabetes. In fact, even if you go to a family that has twins, they are likely to have twins in the family. And that's why we talk about transgenerational.
Yes.
Now you can see the family. Now go to the social setting, and that's where you get the shock. We pass the same values that our parents passed on to us. I can give you two quick ones. Favorite child. And the black sheep in the family.
Yes.
Because our children, because Jain was the favorite, and Bishop was not the favorite, we reciprocate the same thing. So you have this child whom you love, and this one who is the black sheep.
So it's the same with corrupt values.
It is the same thing with corruption. And that's why I was saying that I am on TV right now, and I'm saying I have a PhD, and I don't have. And my children are asking me, Dad, show me your certificate. And I'm trying to tell them, excuse me, I'm going to show you my certificate tomorrow. And that's why I was so happy with I like bishops, with due respect. Even when you visit their home, even me who is a professor, they don't even ask me whether I'm a Christian. They say, before we eat, let us thank God for this meal. So what are we doing in the home? That money that we have stolen outside there, we are taking it to the home. With due respect, without mentioning names, we have seen children with accounts of 20 million. I've never had 20 million in my account. I think I should go and check the bank immediately. But I have never reached 20 as a professor. But a child has left class 8, and your child has 20 million, Jain, Bishop.
Yes.
20 million. 20 and this child has never worked. What are you telling your child? You're telling your child, you come in, I'll put for you 20 million. I'm not saying we should not buy our children presents, but appropriate presents, so that we inculcate the values from ourselves. And before I add, I want to say something which is very important, that I always tell people. The parent is the first teacher.
Yes.
And parenting is lifelong. There is no way you will be telling your children, you will be on TV and you are corrupt, and you go home and tell your children anything about corruption. It's not possible, because you're the first parent, and parenting is lifelong.
All right. Same comes to you, Bishop, you know, looking at the aspect of corruption and it actually having some root within the family setup.
If we have to fight corruption in this country, definitely we have to encourage parents, right? And corruption starts at home. And it starts by this way. When you are sending your child to the shop, you tell, and they have just come to use that as a way to get something. They say, Mommy, you're sending me to the shop. What am I going also to get from this? Then you give that child even 10 bob. You say, you buy yourself some sweets. So you are now bribing these children to go to the shop. Unlike our days, whereby you can even be sent by a parent 10 times when the others are seated without complaining.
Exactly.
So that's where corruption is starting. And the other thing, corruption is starting there because they hear us make conversations of quick money. Yes, we were talking about, if I get to that company, I'm going to bribe the MD, and then I'm going to do this. You know, they're just recording all these things. We are talking things which are poison to our children. You are talking strategies, or even the ways you are just going to make to get that money. If I get that contract, I'm going to do this. We bribe police officers when we are driving in a family car. They see you get that 50 bob and give. And children say, Mommy, why did you give? They ask those questions. Mommy, why did you? Daddy, why did you give? So
and you tell them,
what are you teaching these children? You see, we teach them by, you know, they learn more, they get more when they see than even in class. So if we bring the conversation about corruption, fighting corruption right from home, and then we start talking negatively about corruption, then they'll see this is a bad thing. You see, I've written these books and I talk about it. These books for almost 5 years. I've just taken the conversation about in my home. So they are really saturated about corruption, and they contributed. In fact, one of them is the one who suggested the title. So if we bring back the conversation about corruption, our children will not do. If they know Daddy doesn't do, even if they know Mom is not going to do it and they don't like it, they'll not do it. But you're celebrating it. They, Today we have a scandal of the KEMSA. They say, yeah, I want to wanaume. You see?
Now, due to the interest of time, how then do we start with these conversations around politics and even just ending corruption right from the home setup so that it can also boil over to other spaces? Let me start with you, Bishop.
Yeah, definitely. We have to see where we are. Every parent, I pray God that they see where this country is. People who God has opened their eyes and see where the country is heading, they are not sleeping, they are crying. Because, you know, Kenya is going in a bad place. Corruption is just a runway. Professor, it's too bad.
Yeah.
You can't get every office you go, they need something, whether public office or private. So it's all about corruption. We are bringing the country down. And the country, if in fact the government can close the loopholes. We don't need to even raise taxes. We don't need borrowing. You just need to raise up the bar. And that's why we just need a president. We need a country now, this 9th of August. We pray God to give us a brutal government. This country is very rich. It's just that the devil has taken over. And it is taking over through religion. Yes, it's taking over through people who has been given mandate and responsibility. We're praying God, especially me as a bishop, I'm praying God for a brutal.
Okay.
And God had that habit he had that way, he used that during the Israelites. There were times he will give them, Professor, a very brutal king. And there were times he brings another one very soft to tell them, pole.
Right.
That is what we need in this country.
Let me also hear from you, Dr. Geoffrey, looking at ending corruption and also just the role that parents have to play in line with having these conversations around politics with the children in the family setup.
Asante sana, Jain. I actually want to begin from where Bishop has stopped.
Very briefly, we're almost out of time.
And I'm very glad that he has mentioned about children learn from what we do. And there's this joke that we make about them when you come from church. When the mother, Jane, you are driving the car and someone bypasses you, and you as a lady, you are very calm and you say, oh, what has he done? And then the children say, Mom, if it was Daddy, he would have said so many, and then he would have come out and tried. You know, we don't pick it that it is the modeling, and that's what I want us to that's what I want to say. First of all, I like the way the media has brought in the aspect of parenting and families. We need to bring the family back to the forefront, so that the family is more to do with what can we model our children? Who are we and what are we doing? As we pray for them, that I agree with the bishop. And the second and most important is we need to say to ourselves, what is it that we are doing and what are some of the things we are doing to shape our children, so that our children can see different aspects, including the family. And we can bring in even these values in the family, so that the children can see a new way of parenting. So that, you see, when you pay for one child from another, that's corruption, like Bishop would say. When you pay school fees for one and not the other. And you know, it used to happen, especially some time ago, when the father would pay for the son in Form 1 and not the daughter in Form 4. And then you ask why, and then they bring in the gender perspective. But now we need to reverse all this and say to ourselves, what is it that we need to do in the family, including the way we bring up our children? What are the morals that we are passing? What are some of the standards we are setting? And we keep remembering, it's what they see. It's not me smoking and sending them cigarettes and telling them, do not smoke, do not drink. As a psychologist, I keep arguing with the parents because they tell me I hide my beer and my wine in the bedroom, and then I drink when the children can't see.
There you know. Now, as we close this conversation, let me start with you, Dr. Geoffrey. Just your closing remarks in regards to understanding that family has a very critical role to play when it comes to how we shape our children's understanding of politics.
Asante. Thank you. My take is this. As a family, we need to remember that we are setting the bar. We are the ones who set who are telling the children how to grow up. The parent is the first teacher. The parent teaches etiquette. The parent shows things, including the body language. So when you're talking this politics and you're shouting, to each other, and you're on top of, and you're standing on the table and saying, we must all vote for this one, the child tomorrow will be on the table doing the same, trying to pass the same different information in this in the same perspective, not necessarily politics. So what we need to do is we model our children, and two, we also make politics into discussions, principles, values and norms that affect us, our family, and our country.
All right. Bishop, your closing remarks on the same.
Yeah, thanks, Jain. We as a parent, we have a big role to play. We should tell our children these are just politics, not enmity. They should know that His Excellency the President Uhuru and the Deputy President, His Excellency William Ruto, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, these are just politics and policies. They are not enemies. In fact, now we see the president, we see handshake. Next time you'll just see the same enemies. Next election, they are the ones shaking hands. These people are just playing, and they are just finding their ways to leadership. And that's most of these politicians, that's how they make their millions. Okay. That's how they make their millions. So I can say, if this is the conclusion, that is why the Lord has graced me to write the book. This is what we need. I believe I have an answer to this monster. In fact, I define it that the devil has gone spiritual. We need to employ a spiritual eye and perspective. Okay. And I invite you to the launch. We are just launching these books on the 21st of July this month at All Saints Cathedral from 3. And thank God for the ESCC partnering, CJ's office, the county, the CJ coming in, and Nairobi County, and I say the Lord bless you, and it's good to have Professor here. Thanks.
All right, that is Bishop Dr. Richard Keturai. He is the chair of the Kajiado County Anti-Corruption Civil Oversight, or rather Civilian Oversight Committee, and also doubles as an author, the book titled End of Corruption. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we have also been speaking with Dr. Geoffrey Wango, who is a counseling psychologist as well as a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Well, that brings us to a close of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for your time. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning. For now, it is bye-bye. My name is Jain Wambui.